In a quiet Thai village, far from the chaos of cities, lived Sut, a Buddhist monk draped in saffron robes. For years, she followed the strict rhythms of temple life: meditation at dawn, chanting at dusk, a life of discipline. To outsiders, she was the picture of peace. But inside, a storm was brewing. No matter how hard she meditated, doubt crept in. The rituals felt hollow. The silence she once cherished now echoed with a single haunting question: is this really enlightenment? Then, one night, a vision. In her dream, a radiant figure, glowing like divine light, spoke to her. Go to Borobudur Temple in Java. There you'll find the peace you seek. The words burned in her chest. This wasn't just a dream. It was a calling. Without a word to anyone, she left. The journey? The trip to Indonesia was long, unfamiliar, but for the first time in years, she felt alive. Not just going through the motions, but searching. When she finally saw Borobudur Temple, her breath caught. The ancient stone rose like a mountain of wisdom, carved with centuries of secrets. She sat to meditate. But then, a sound cut through the silence. Allahu Akbar. The Islamic call to prayer, unfamiliar yet strangely comforting, rolled over her like a wave. Her heart pounded. Tears fell. She didn't understand the words, but something inside her recognized them. Then, darkness. The stranger. She woke up in a hospital bed. A man sat beside her, peeling a banana. "You're awake," he smiled. "I found you at the temple. I'm Rahmed, just a fried food seller." But there was something different about him. A quiet calm, a warmth that put her at ease. As she recovered, she told him about her dream, about the voice that led her here. Then, hesitating, she asked, "That sound I heard, what was it?" Rahmed smiled softly. "That was the Adhan, the Muslim call to prayer. 5 times a day, it calls us to pause, remember Allah, and refocus our hearts." "Allah," she repeated. The word felt new on her lips, yet warm. "Yes," he nodded. "The one true God." A quiet moment passed. Sut turned toward the window, gazing at the endless blue sky. Something inside her stirred, a deep, wordless longing. And that was only the start. The days after Sut's collapse moved slowly but meaningfully. She stayed in Malang, healing under Rahmed's quiet care. He was just a simple street vendor, yet there was wisdom in him, a peace that needed no preaching. He never pressured her, never lectured. But his presence alone brought her calm. Sut felt drawn to him, not in romance, but in spirit. She had spent years among monks and gurus, all speaking of enlightenment. But Rahmed was different. No ego, no performance, just truth, spoken with humility. One afternoon, under the shade of a tree, she finally opened up. "I've followed Buddhism my whole life," she admitted, "but something always felt missing. I thought peace meant silence, but when I heard the Adhan, loud, alive, I felt a peace deeper than any silence." Rahmed listened, then said, "We think silence is the answer, but real peace isn't about empty quiet. It's about standing in the presence of the divine." His words settled into her soul. They walked together often through rice fields and quiet lanes. Sut asked endless questions about Islam, prayer, Allah. Rahmed never grew tired of answering. He spoke of Tawheed, the oneness of God, why Muslims bow in prayer, and how this life is only a test, not the end. "There is no God but Allah," he told her one evening, "and Muhammad, peace be upon him, is his final messenger. That is Islam's core." Sut closed her eyes. The simplicity struck her. No countless gods or rituals, just one creator, one truth. But doubt crept in. Her old life, her robes, her temple, her vows. How could she leave it all? "I'm torn," she confessed. "I feel Islam pulling me, but my family expects me to stay a monk. If I leave, I lose everything. Rahmed's voice was gentle. Truth demands courage. Even the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, faced rejection. But he stood firm, because truth isn't always easy, just always right. That night, Sut lay awake, her mind racing. The dream that led her here, the glowing figure, the call to Borao, her collapse, the Adhan, Rahmed, all of it pointed one way. But was she brave enough? The next morning, Rahmed invited her to the mosque. She hesitated, but her heart was searching. Inside, she watched as the worshippers moved together, bowing, standing, prostrating in perfect submission. Sut had spent years meditating in silence. But here, in the whispered prayers, she saw something new. Surrender. Tears filled her eyes. She didn't know the Arabic words, but her soul understood. Later, she asked Rahmed, "Why does this feel like coming home?" "Because," he said, "the heart knows the truth when it hears it." With every Quran verse she read, her certainty grew. Stories of Maryam, Mary, Isa, Jesus, and the prophets felt familiar, yet clearer, purer. One verse pierced her heart. Truly, in the remembrance of Allah, do hearts find rest. Quran 13:28. Fear still whispered, "What will my family say? Will they abandon me?" But the truth was louder. She turned to Rahim. "I want to embrace Islam." His eyes shone. "Are you sure?" "Yes," she said. "I've never been more certain." And so, in the mosque, before a small circle of witnesses, Sut stood trembling, but resolute. With Rahim beside her, she spoke the Shahada. "I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger." A new beginning. In that moment, the weight on her shoulders vanished. A deep, overwhelming peace filled her, one she'd never felt before. She wasn't just Sut the monk anymore. She was Sister Sweat, a believer who had finally found her truth. As weeks passed, something unexpected grew between her and Rahmed. Their spiritual bond turned into friendship, then respect, then love. One afternoon, under a banyan tree, Rahmed said softly, "Allah brings people together in ways we can't predict. I never thought I'd meet someone like you." Sweat smiled. "Do you think this was meant to be?" "I do," he replied. "And if you let me, I'd like to walk this path with you." Their nikah, Islamic marriage, was simple, held in the same mosque where she'd embraced Islam. A few friends gathered as they vowed to share not just love, but faith. It felt like a fresh start, but her past wasn't done with her yet. The ghosts of home life in Malang was peaceful. With Rahmed beside her, Sweat embraced her new identity. But at night, her heart ached. Back in Thailand, she had been a monk, a role her Buddhist parents cherished. To them, her conversion wasn't just a change of faith. It was a betrayal. Letters arrived, some sad, some angry. "You've abandoned the true path," one read. "We are ashamed." The words cut deep. She cried, not from regret, but from loss. She missed her mother's cooking, her father's quiet strength, the temple bells of her childhood. One evening, Rahmed noticed her sadness. "Do you want to see them?" he asked. Sweat hesitated. "What if they turn me away?" "We won't know unless we try," he said gently. The return Thailand was the same, but she wasn't. At her parents' door, her hands shook. Rahmed squeezed her shoulder. When her mother opened the door, her eyes filled with shock. "Sweat? Is it really you?" Her father stood behind her, face tight with anger. They let her in, but the air was heavy with silence. Finally, her father spoke. Why leave the path we gave you?" She told them everything, the dream, the journey, the call to prayer, the peace she'd found. Her mother cried. Her father stayed stiff, arms crossed. "I didn't leave to hurt you," Sweat whispered. "I left because I found what my soul needed." Her father looked away. "We don't accept this, but we still love you." It wasn't approval, but it wasn't rejection either. And for Sweat, that tiny opening was enough. A fragile peace days passed. Her mother slowly warmed, cooking her favorite meals, even hugging her goodnight. Her father stayed distant, but one night he found her praying. When she finished, he asked quietly, "Does this really bring you peace?" She smiled. "Yes, Papa, more than anything." He nodded and walked away. That small moment meant everything. Moving forward, back in Malang, Sweat felt stronger. Her faith had survived the storm. She and Rahmed grew their food business, hiring women in need. But their real mission was deeper, to help others find the same peace they had. The past still lingered, but the future was bright. And this time, she wasn't walking alone. With the help of their community, they started a small foundation to empower women and teach interfaith understanding. Seward didn't preach. She spoke from experience, sharing her journey through doubt to clarity. "I didn't become Muslim because someone forced me," she'd say. "I became Muslim because Allah guided me, and I chose to listen." Her words moved people. Even those of other faiths admired her honesty and humility. But challenges remained. Some in Malang's Buddhist community called her a traitor. Online trolls from Thailand labeled her a disgrace. Yet, this time, their words didn't shake her. She had found her path, and she had Rahim, her partner in love, faith, and healing. One evening, walking through the rice fields, Rahim asked, "Do you ever wish things had been different?" So paused. "I miss my past, but I don't regret my future." He smiled. "That's beautiful." She gazed at the horizon. True peace isn't about where you are or how quiet life is. It's about letting go of fear and following the truth. Months later, a letter arrived from her father, not warm, but curious. He wrote, "I don't understand your choice, but I want to understand you." See what cried. It was more than she'd ever hoped for. Over time, she and Rahmed became known not just as a happy couple, but as symbols of peace and unity. Their life was simple, built on faith, love, and truth. Every dawn, before the call to prayer echoed over Magelang, So stood outside, eyes closed, breathing deep. She remembered the dream that changed everything. A radiant figure, a call to a distant land, a journey not away from herself, but toward who she was meant to be. And when the Adhan rang out, her heart answered, "I hear you now."